Are you new to this whole strength training thing and you don't really know where to start because there's some really crazy fitness videos that go into minute details about how you twist your cables and what specific exercises you need to do to hit specific muscles, and you just really want to get started and skip all that complicated stuff? Well, I got a quick guide for you. This is how to make a quick and easy strength training program and how to get the whole way around. When you're making a strength training program, you do need to consider who you're trying to train or who you're making a strength training program for. If it's yourself, you need to consider, okay, what is my training history? Do I have any experiences with specific sports, running, gym, whatever you could think of? Is there something that gives me some experience in some shape or form? The other thing you need to consider is what sort of injuries have I had in my previous lifetime? Has it been sport related, or maybe it's been like a knee injury? Have I had an operation? Take those things into consideration, and then you can find exercises that are modified to suit your needs. It also highlights what sort of points you could be focusing on. So if you've had a knee surgery, then you could look at doing stabilizing activities or ways to strengthen the tendons and ligaments around your knee to get to normal functioning again, if that is possible and if that's something that you wish to work on. The third thing you need to consider is, can you actually do the exercises? Like, what sort of exercises are you expected to do, or do you expect yourself to do? And can you perform them? Like with squat, can you get down? Do you have the range of motion needed to sit down in a squat properly? Or do you need to look at how to modify the exercise? Because you can still do lots of things with reduced mobility, or if you find it difficult to do the exercise. So instead of doing a regular squat, you could do box squats instead. That still works and is still a good exercise. Anything is better than nothing. The fourth thing I would consider would be very generic and genetic factors like your age and your gender. Things that might play into it, but it's not really such a big deal if you just focus on the other three things, because that really guides you on where you should start, and that's almost completely independent of age and gender. So if you focus on the first three things first, that will give you a pretty good guide. Now, if we're talking about an inactive group, then one set of between like 8 to 12 reps will usually be enough, and just doing it once a week. But 2 is always better than 1, especially if you're a bit more experienced. If you want to do 3, that's perfect. But 2 is generally where we see that if you train the whole body twice a week, we do still see improvements. But obviously, the more trained and experienced you are, the more stimuli your body and muscles need to respond and progress. But that's also talking training load, but also training volume. The load you want to use is between 12 to 15 repetition maximum. If you haven't yet watched my video on repetition maximum and reps in reserve, you can go look at that to kind of figure out where your repetition maximum is. But if you don't want to conduct a repetition maximum test, that's also fine. Maybe try and see what feels not comfortable, but what feels okay, because strength training shouldn't always be comfortable, because then it's not tough enough, but it shouldn't be out damn right painful, but it should be with a degree of uncomfortableness. So you can use that as your guideline if you don't want to try out the repetition maximum test. The amount of sets you should do depends on both your time and experience, but generally between 1 to 3 sets. I do 3, but I'm more experienced than inactive groups, because I've been training for years. But again, if you don't have a lot of time on your hands, one set is better than nothing. Just as a quick recap before I talk about what sort of exercises you want to include, when talking about load, you want to have between 12 to 15 repetition maximums. In terms of repetitions you should do per set is between 8 and 12. And then in terms of set is between 1 to 3 sets per exercise. And then you want to train between 2 to 3 times a week. But if you're completely new and you have been inactive before, one can still do it, but we see the most evidence for twice a week. And again, the more you do it, the better. So I recommend between 2 to 3 times a week. Now, we have these 5 basic exercises that you should do or incorporate into your strength training. It's not ones that like, okay, you have to do squat, you have to do deadlift, blah blah blah. It's exercises where I explain the movement that should be occurring, and then you can pick whichever exercise you prefer. So the first basic exercise would be to push with your legs. That could be a squat, that could be a deadlift, that could be a leg press. The possibilities are endless, but the first movement that should be incorporated is press with your legs. The second one is press with your upper body. That could be push-ups, that could be bench press, those sorts of things. It could also be military press, if you want to do that as well. So different ones to choose from. The third one is pull with the upper body. So that could be pull-ups, for example. If you struggle to do pull-ups, there's lots of variations on YouTube that you can look up. Some include a band, some include a box, some include that you jump up at the bar and you just try and hold on and then slowly go down. That's also a great way to train your upper body. The fourth one is that you need to train your lower back, and that can be done through various exercises, generally where you, I don't know how to explain it, but I mean, you just, pull your back, your spine back. You do like an overhead lift, and you can do this on the floor at home, or you could do it using a machine where you're raised above the ground and these are your legs, and then here's your upper body, and then you lift your back up like so. That would also be a way of training your lower back. And the last but not least, the fifth activity that you should incorporate is something that can not strain we don't want to strain it, something that can train your core. And the reason why that is also included is because it keeps everything intact and it helps protect the back, but also assists in all of the major exercises like squat, like deadlift, because it helps create this internal pressure. As a quick recap, the 5 exercises you should include in your strength training is push with the legs, push with the upper body, pull with the upper body, train your lower back, and then train your core. When I say core, I mean your belly, this belly area. That is a quick and easy way that you can put together a strength training program. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that, but if you are interested in more in-depth and detailed stuff, you can watch some of my other videos. But this is just the basics. That is all that is really needed to progress, as long as you use the appropriate load and progress slowly over time. So thank you for watching. I hope it makes sense. Otherwise, just write me a question and I'll try my best to answer it. Bye guys.